Way to go. Well, I am super excited today. So I'm really, really excited because Shyler Mecham, the founder of Bark and Go, you can see on the screen behind me, is one of my former students and worked here in the Grit Center last year. So we are probably claiming more than we can on your success, Shyler. But we're very proud that you got your start here at Snow College in the Grit Center. So Bark and Go is a mobile dog gym in Utah County that she originally funded with prize money from a Bootstrap Your Business competition here at the Grit Center, which is pretty cool. As I mentioned, she's a former Grit Center student employee and Snow College student. Yet to graduate, maybe more on that later, we'll see, right? Keep us posted. Shyler obviously loves dogs and lives in Mapleton, Utah, so please welcome Shyler Mecham.
Thanks. Okay, cool. All right, so like Russ said, I started Bark and Go just last year. My official birthday of Bark and Go is going to be in June, so I haven't even been doing it a full year yet. But yeah, he kind of explained what this is. I'm in Utah County, so I service Payson to Orem, and then occasionally I go up to Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, if you guys are familiar with that area. So that's where I am. This is kind of what it looks like inside. So I have this van, and I go to people's houses and run their dogs. And then these are the treadmills I have. They're called flat mill treadmills, so there's no motor connected to them, so it's just completely dog powered. But yeah, this is my setup. I thought that the best way to kind of introduce what I do and who I am is to show my news, video. I got interviewed by Fox 13 in December of this year, and so they did a little thing on me. And anyways, I have to tell you first of all that I misspoke and they quoted me twice in it. So I say I don't even know, I switched up a letter. So when you hear it, just pretend you didn't. It's right at dogs get really excited on it and sprint their heart outs right there.
Lots of people hit the gym for their New Year's resolutions, and now their future furry friends are joining them.
Good Day Utah News anchor John Franke introduces us to an entrepreneur who's helping dogs with their physical fitness in a story that is positively Utah.
It's no secret that dogs in shelters need as much exercise as they can get. A woman here in Utah County is getting dogs to move their legs in the most unique way possible.
We're gonna go into this first room. Oh my goodness! They're awesome, they're loyal, they're sweet, they're fun.
This is Shyler Mecham's office on wheels.
Come here! Good job!
Where she works exclusively with dogs.
Tail's wagging, so that's a good sign. I just love dogs with personality. Come on! There you go.
And this?
Good job! There you go.
Is her most important tool.
And this one I just got in June.
It's a treadmill imported from Europe specifically for our four-legged friends. Shyler owns her own business called Bark and Go, an idea she developed at Snow College.
They had a business pitch competition, and I entered it with this idea, and I ended up winning, and so I won a little bit of money, and I used that money to buy a treadmill.
Now she takes her vans to the homes of her clients to get dogs moving.
Most of them love it. Dog does it all. If they want to slow down, they slow down. If they want to stop, they stop.
We caught up with Shyler while she was volunteering at the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter.
Buddy! Oh my goodness. Hi, Scar.
She regularly gets dogs out of their cages.
Scar loves it.
To get their paws in motion.
It's really fun to see the dogs get really excited on it and sprint their heart outs.
Scar can't tell us his review, but if his expressions are any indication, this is a workout he enjoys.
It stimulates their brain and it's a game, it's a confidence builder, it's something new, it's exciting, it's noisy, it's scary, and it just does all the things, and so they really have to focus, and it really brings them to focus.
At 20 years old, Shyler is a student and small business owner, plus she has another full-time job, all while finding time to volunteer.
It's definitely been rewarding. There's been 1 or 2 dogs that I've seen that I've absolutely loved, and I've posted and I've followed through and have gotten adopted.
Just like the dog she works out, Shyler has overcome any apprehension.
The van was a big leap of faith and it was scary.
And for her business, it's full speed ahead.
I've just had a lot of fun. I've gotten to know a lot of really, really cool people, made a lot of really cool connections, and learned a lot of things, and so that was totally worth it. Woohoo!
Shyler hopes to see her business.
Anyways, so I thought that'd be a good introduction to kind of show you guys what I do. I do volunteer at the shelter, but I also get sponsorships for it, so I'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so Bark and Go started down here at Snow College. So these are my friends and partial roommates. This is Bryn. She was one of me and Kennedy's roommates, and she worked for the Grit Center last year, only for the first semester, and then she ended up moving back to Washington. And that's how I heard about the Grit Center and never heard of it before. I was studying criminal justice, so I had no intentions of starting a business, literally no intentions of working with dogs. I was gonna be a cop. So this was a little bit off my path. But anyways, so Bryn stopped working here and her position opened up and I applied and I found out about the bootstrap competition. And I saw a mobile dog gym in Vegas that was on TikTok. Most people have seen them, like that's kind of where they know what a mobile dog gym is the one in Vegas. And I was like, what the heck? Like, people start grooming businesses, and I know personally my boyfriend's uncle started a grooming business and quit his full-time job, and like that was it. So I knew that people had dogs and were willing to pay for their dogs, and there was a demand for it. So I pitched this idea at the Grit Center for the bootstrap competition, and I won. And with that money, I bought a treadmill. So this is how it came to my house. It had to be imported from Europe. So it was a big purchase, and it took like a month or 2 to get here. And when it showed up, I was still going to snow. It showed up in February of last year. So we got it set up. I just had it sitting in my garage. This is my dog that I tested out on it. I just started doing friends' dogs and had them come over to my house and kind of learned. Like, there was no mobile dog gym in Utah that I had known of at that point, which I was wrong. There were a few, but so while I was down at Snow, I just started making Bark and Go. So I made an Instagram, I made a TikTok, I started making flyers and business cards, I made my logos. I just used Canva. It was free. I didn't have to put any money into it. So looking back, maybe I should have put a little money into this because now I'm stuck with this logo, but I love it. But people recognize that it's from Canva. So started with Canva. I learned about Calendly, which is a free booking thing that I used. I just used a free session, free session. And then my grandparents just happened to have this trailer that just barely happened to fit my treadmills in it. Like, seriously, I would have to take the treadmill top off and it like closed and touched the end of my treadmill. Like, it barely fit, but it was free. I made these banners. My car was able to pull the trailer. So it just all kind of started working out. I was still at Snow when I made this, and I had a few trips planned for the end of my semester. So I went to Arizona and Washington, and while I was in Washington, I got my very first booking, which I could not believe because I seriously had not advertised anything. Like, I had made an Instagram, I had posted random videos that I had made in my garage, and I got a booking for Saratoga Springs, which is like a 50-minute drive from my house. So I went to my appointment. This is what I would do. I would literally just pull the treadmill out on the side of the road and run their dogs. I brought an umbrella because it was raining. My first session, I didn't bring any harnesses, so I had to use hers. It was terrifying. I've never driven with a trailer before. I had to learn that in like a week because I was preparing for this appointment. But so I had my first appointment. I started getting more clients just from word of mouth and Instagram, which I didn't even realize was a thing. Like, I had not promoted any ads. I had not put flyers out even yet. And people were just finding me on Instagram and booking without any prior information. I started not networking, but I started kind of advertising my business in Facebook groups. And that's how, this is Sarah Baker. She's a dog trainer in Springville. She found me on one of those and invited me to her pack walk. And so I started doing her pack walks and kind of hanging out with her. Pack walks are basically when trainers have a bunch of clients, they'll set up a pack walk like once or twice a month, and all of their clients come and they literally just walk in a circle, and the trainer like gives them advice, and it's usually free. So I set up there, ran a few dogs. I got another client that, because I still am in my trailer at this point, she had a garage with like a fan and air conditioner, and so I would pull the treadmill into her garage and run her dogs. And she happened to have, this is Heron. He's adoptable if any of you guys want a dog. But he's in a rescue called Arctic Rescue. And one of my clients volunteers for them, and so I got connected to them. And through them, the news people found me. So just kind of random connections that I didn't purposely make that like had brought new clients. And yeah. Some of the advertising stuff I did, obviously I'd post in Facebook groups. I made t-shirts for me to wear, and I made business cards that I have yet to hand out to all the places that I want to hand them out to, but I kind of gave them to like vets and dog trainers and kind of that kind of thing. This is a list of all of the mobile dog gyms in America and one in Canada. So there's not a lot. Like there are a few, but there's really not a lot. And so it was absolutely crazy when I got a random message from a random person I had never met that said that they had a mobile dog gym for sale in St. George, which was insane. Like, I had just gotten into the business, just finished snow, and like $20,000 is obviously a lot of money, but that's not $100,000 or something. Like, that's doable. And so I ignored her message for a while because I was like, no way. But it was getting hot. Like, I can't pull a treadmill out on the road when it's 90 degrees. Like, it wasn't working out. So I really had to decide, am I doing Bark and Go or am I keeping this treadmill for my dog? Like, I had to make a decision. I also had to make a decision, was I coming back to college the next year? I only have one semester left. I've yet to complete it. And so I had to make a decision, like, am I gonna go for it or am I not? And so I waited like 3 weeks. I messaged her again, and I was like, hey, can you send me like kind of your cost breakdown? Like, tell me what's failed in your business, what's not. So she made this little spreadsheet, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do it. The thing is, she was in St. George. All of her clients were in St. George. And so I asked her, I was like, are you willing to sell it to me if I don't keep your clients? Like, I'm gonna ditch them. I'm coming up to Utah County. And she said that she would be interested in that. I think she just really wanted to sell it. It just wasn't working out for her down there. So I drove down to St. George. I saw the van, and I gave her an offer. I kind of negotiated with her a little bit. I found a private investor to loan me the money, so I had no interest on my loan, which was amazing. And so that's kind of one of the big things that pushed me to do it, is I found a private investor to do it for me. And so yeah, we went down. I negotiated with her that day. I got it for $17,000, I think. So like, I felt like it was a good deal, and she felt like she had a good deal. She wanted to go lower, and I didn't want to feel like I was stealing it from her. Anyways, so then I had to drive it from St. George to Mapleton, and I don't know if you guys have ever driven a shuttle bus, but it's terrifying. It's a 2001 too, so it's like the steering wheel, like I have to crank it to turn. Like, it is shaky. I had to drive it all the way from St. George, and this is just a video of me driving it up. It was terrifying. I didn't know if I was gonna break down. The check engine light was on the entire time. I got to Nephi and all was well, and then I was going up a hill and it just stopped accelerating. And I was just like holding on, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. Like, I'm gonna roll down this hill on the freeway. I had like Beethoven playing in my headphones, like trying to calm myself down driving up this hill. And I was like, I cannot believe I just bought a van. This is in my name, it's not in the bank's name. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then honestly, my kind of thoughts were, if I fail, I'm making this my house and I'm living in this van. Like, this is not what I was expecting. But anyways, Okay, so I got it home, and I started DIYing it. I did not like the layout she had inside, and I hated her logo. It was just way too much. Like, I don't have a picture of the back of it, but it had like all the dog breeds and how fast they can go. And she gives discounts to these, and here's why you need to run your dog. And it was just too much. Like, you drive by and you couldn't see what was going on. You could not tell. So most people probably thought she was just a groomer. That's what a lot of people think I am. So I peeled off all of her vinyl. I DIY'd it. I photoshopped this and sent it to a bunch of vinyl companies, found the cheapest quote I could find. A lot of them were quoting me a lot more than I thought that it was worth to do. So I finally found someone who was able to do it for a good price. I designed this all myself, got that vinyl on. This was her layout on the inside, and I hated it. It was stuffy, it was hot, and she had 3 treadmills total. This was a mini treadmill, mini version of that, and this is like a high-intensity carpet treadmill. I didn't find any use for the 2 smaller ones, so I ended up just selling them, which helped me make a connection with another dog trainer. And so yeah, I had this orange treadmill is the one that I had bought originally, and then I got her treadmill. And it was nice to buy an already set up mobile dog gym because she had an AC unit, she had this fan, she had all the harnesses, she had all the setup, and so it was super nice. Literally all I did was build these platforms and put my own treadmills on. So it just worked out really nice. I made the banner in the back of this is from my trailer. I really tried to do this with like as little cost as I possibly could because like I didn't want to put a ton of money into it without knowing what was going to happen. So what's next? Okay, so some of the advertising I did, I live in Mapleton, so I went into the Mapleton Parade, which was really fun actually, except for the problem with mobile dog gyms is people think that I force dogs to run. So like walking back from where we ended up, like after the parade, walking back to my house, I heard people like, oh, that's the girl who ran the dogs and those poor dogs and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, like people just didn't understand. And I found that on TikTok too. When I would post things, people would be like, that poor dog, why are you doing that? This is evil. That harness isn't tight enough. The harness is too loose. All this stuff, which ended up blowing up my TikTok and Instagram and found me clients. So jokes on them. And then I would be able to respond and be like, actually, no, here's a video of a dog stopping on his own because a ball went by. Like, he can stop. And so it was kind of like, you guys are so dumb. But also like, okay, you're watching out for dogs, whatever. You think you're doing the right thing, okay. But anyways, I was in a parade. It didn't really spike any business for me, to be honest. It was mostly about just spreading the word of what I was. There's only 2 mobile dog gyms in Utah right now, me and one in Salt Lake, Davis and Weber. She does all 3. So we're the only 2. When I very first started, there were 3. There was the one in St. George, there was the one in Salt Lake, and then there was one in Draper that was like a stationary dog gym. So they had like 8 treadmills and they just had a building. So they ended up going out of business. The St. George one went out of business. And now it's just me and Tofts Trotters is her name. And we've been able to refer clients to each other just because we're right next to each other, but we're not competing. Like, I don't service her area, she doesn't service mine. So anytime we get clients from the others, we just recommend each other. And she actually recommended my second client to me because my second client had worked with her before but lived in Payson. So that was pretty cool. I also did farmers markets. I just did the Springville Farmers Market. This was a really big success, and looking back, I should have put more effort into it, and I probably will be doing it again this year because it was really cool. The treadmills are loud. Like, I don't know if you remember from the Fox 13 video, but they're loud. And so when I was outside and I'd get a sample, this was Leo, my sample dog, when he would run, people would draw over to my booth, and I would have crowds. Like, I had to have my boyfriend help, my parents help, and it would just get really overwhelming. And I didn't make any money at the farmers markets because I didn't charge for trial runs, but I had like a full cup of business cards that was just gone at the end of the day. So I got followers, I got a few clients, and I spread the word, and so people were spreading the word. They were like, oh, I don't have a dog, but my daughter does, and he's a menace. He's just the worst. And I'm like, yeah, cool, send him my way. I love menace dogs. And then I had the little baby treadmill there. I hadn't sold it yet, so that was kind of fun to just show people. But But yeah, so I did the farmer's market. I had a few setbacks. The problem with having an old van is it's old. And so one day I was driving, I went over a railroad track and looked out my window, and there was just glitter going off my van. And I was like, it's not snowing. So I pulled over. My window had completely shattered. I still, to this day, don't know what happened. And I wish I could like zoom in. It was shattered, like itty bitty tiny pieces gone. And I had a piece of foam, luckily, blocking out some heat. So it was able to kind of act as my window for a while. And then the nightmare came when I was trying to get quotes to fix this. Everyone told me no. I got quoted for a couple grand for this. And I was like, it's a window. Just build a square and stick it in. Like, how is that so complicated? So I had to find a couple people. I had multiple people tell me, that's custom. I can't do that. Like, you're going to have to find someone else. So I just kept getting turned down. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be windowless. Like, I'm going to duct tape it. I'm not paying a couple grand to have a window. And I ended up finding one person who way overcharged me, but she was still way cheaper than everyone else. So I ended up getting that fixed. Another problem I had, I started going to Saratoga Springs, and on my way back, my fuel pump went out. And so all of a sudden I couldn't accelerate, and I was on the freeway. It was terrible. I don't know why I have the worst luck driving home from places, but I got it home, luckily, barely. It seriously like pooped out at the gas station right down the street from my house, and then we were able to start it up and get it to my house. And we DIY'd it, and it took like a week to get the parts in. The parts we ordered, nobody makes parts for a shuttle bus. They make parts for just a normal van. And so every part I'd order was too small or not the right part. It was so dumb. I ended up getting it fixed. It took way too long. And I also had a problem with my alternator. And when I pulled it out to order a new one, I have a super intense alternator that uses so much power. And so it was going to be a couple grand for a new alternator. We ended up finding a screw that was attached to a wire that was just hanging in my engine, and I grounded it, and then it worked. So I didn't end up have to do anything with that. So that was very lucky. I've been very lucky with my business. Like, I've been able to find people that have made it work for me, and I've been able to DIY almost everything. I did a few little competitions. This was my costume contest. So this family, she had 6 dogs. So she did Harry Potter. The doodles on the end were Bert and Ernie. I don't know. This was fun. I didn't find it found me any business, but not a ton of people actually like entered. So it was kind of a flop, but it was kind of fun. And then I started going to the shelter. This is just a video. I don't know if any of you guys have been to the shelter, but it's pretty rough. Anyways, so that last dog is kind of a prime example of how shelter dogs are. They spin in their kennels because they have nowhere to go. And right now, my local shelter has 80 dogs right now, so they can't get out. Like, they literally cannot get every single dog out every single day, so they're locked in these kennels for like 3 days at a time without getting out. So I had a client actually tell me that another mobile dog gym was doing shelter sponsorships, and people would pay her to go to the shelter and run the dogs. And I was like, that's cool. I don't know how I feel about charging people to volunteer there. So I just went one day just by myself. I didn't tell anyone I was going, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, these dogs are so cool. They all took to the treadmill so well. It wasn't hard for me to get them on and get them going. And I felt like I was actually making a difference. And so I was like, I have to put this into my business. So I made this poster, sponsor a shelter day, here's the prices. And I had a ton of people reach out to me. I was just overwhelmed with how many people reached out to me. And by the way, at this time, I was working a part-time job at a grocery store too. And the shelter has weird hours. So I was only able to go to the shelter like twice a week, maybe. And I was just so overwhelmed. I ended up having to pause this and tell people I'm not taking any more sponsorships. Like, I'm way overwhelmed. I had to catch up. And then when I opened it back up, I had a guy show up at the shelter and say, hey, I messaged you. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, hi, what's up? He's like, I sent you a message last week. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't see it. He's like, I want to pay for you to run every single dog in the shelter right now. And I was like, oh, like all 50 of them? You want to pay for all 50 of them? He's like, yes. So I ended up I ran all the dogs in the shelter for him, and he said, okay, cool, when can you start again? And he kept pushing me, like, all right, you ran through all of them. I want to go again. I want to go again. So I don't even take shelter sponsorships anymore because he has overwhelmed me, and not in a bad way, in a great way, like in a super good way. He's an amazing guy. But this ended up being like one of my #1 money makers is the shelter, which is so cool. I ended up having to hire someone. So I have an employee now who goes to the shelter for me on days that I can't or like want her to. So this was a huge success. I'm really glad I did this. I feel like I'm actually making a difference, which is really cool. And I've met a lot of people through the shelter. So that was a really smart suggestion I got. And I'm glad that I actually followed through on it. I took months to actually go. Some other things I did, I teamed up with a dog trainer in Eagle Mountain, which is way far away from where I live at least. And we did this massive farmer's market. It was seriously the biggest market I've ever been to. And we just shared a booth. I showed people how to use the treadmill. She did her training thing. And I had so much interest. And they're like, do you service here? Do you service here? And I'm like, no, I don't, because it's too far to just go for half an hour. And so I ended up starting to gather people on a Facebook group. I made a Facebook group for Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, and I started gathering people. And I think it took 2-3 months, and I had enough people to like set a day and go up there. So that was really awesome. We did like a pack walk with Santa, so I decorated my treadmills like sleighs. Another thing I did a leash fundraiser for the animal shelter, and I teamed up with another dog trainer. So we were able to get all these leashes for the shelter, and then that was just a picture of Santa at our little paws and claws thing. I also started gift certificates around Christmas time. I think it was around Black Friday. And I thought they would be a lot bigger than they were, but they haven't done great. I had a dog trainer buy 20 of them, and she gave them to a bunch of her clients. And seriously, I just barely used it yesterday. It was my very first client that used a gift certificate, and she gave them out at Christmas. So they weren't a huge thing. I've had a lot of people who have received gift certificates, like people have paid for them and given them to clients, and the clients don't use them. I'm like, okay, kind of weird. I thought they'd be a lot bigger than they were, especially when like people have family members who have surgery and can't walk their dogs. I was like, here's a great gift to give to them instead of just bringing them a lasagna or something. So kind of a flop, but I mean, I'm still very young. They could still do something. Because of the Arctic Rescue, and because I had teamed up with them and ran their dogs, Fox 13 found me. They did an interview with me, which I showed you guys earlier, and it was okay. I got a lot of messages that day, got a lot of emails, and that was pretty much it. Like after that day, I didn't get anything from it, which I was really surprised about because the day that it aired, I was getting texts from all my family and friends, like, I just saw you on the news. I didn't know you were gonna be on the news. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's like people are seeing me. A few of my clients texted me that. And then it didn't really generate any business, any sponsorships or anything, which I was really surprised about. But yes, so they found me. That didn't really do anything. I started going to Saratoga Springs. I joined a bunch of Facebook groups for Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, and I sent this flyer. And I was like, hey guys, I'm gathering people who might be interested in my service. Like if you are interested, join this group. Gathered enough people, and so I finally set a date. It was January was my first time I went. I set a date and booked out within like 2 days, like completely full from my time slots. And I was like, oh, wow, that's never happened before. And then the second time I did it, a few people didn't try it again, but still booked out again. And then I'm actually going on Friday, and my entire day is booked out. So this was a really great success to go up there. There's a lot of dogs up there, I guess, that I didn't know about. So I go up there, I try to go once or twice a month, and I pretty much give them a discounted rate. and I just go to their houses, and it works out for me because I only have to drive a few miles in that area, and it works out for them because normally my prices for them would be like upwards of $50, and I'm able to give it to them for $35. So great deal for them, great business for me, and yeah. Another funny thing, I've done 2 puppy parties. I have learned that people are bazonk about their dogs. Like, seriously, my client planned this. She invited 5 dog businesses, 5 or 6, I think 6 dog businesses to her dog's gotcha day. And this was the outfit she had on her. She had a tutu, a bandana, she had a crown at one point. She's really weird on the treadmill, but she made this whole thing. She paid for advertisements on Instagram for it. She got me, she got a groomer, she got a pet photographer, which, aren't those so cute? That's a pet photographer, but she got all of us to come. She got a bandana, a person who makes dog bandanas. She bought pup cakes for every single dog that attended. She did giveaways. She gave away like Stanleys, and she had just bizarre. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much money you are spending on your dog. But I have learned that people go crazy, and their dogs are their kids, and they're willing to spend whatever on their dogs. So the puppy parties have been really fun. They've been a great kind of money maker for me, a lot of money in just a few short hours. So I need to look into doing more of these. So far, all my clients have been the ones to schedule them, and I just show up. So that's been great. But yeah, I just wanted to include how cute these pictures are. And then here's a few kind of deals I've done and I kind of thought I'd tell you what I thought would do well and what didn't. Instagram giveaways were huge. Like, I got a lot of followers from them, and that turns into clients. So I've done a few giveaways with a few different dog companies. What's been really great about my business is I'm not competing with anyone. There's a lot of dog businesses out there, and I don't have any competitors. Like, there's a lot of dog bandanas, there's a lot of dog treats, there's a lot of dog trainers, groomers, whatever. I'm not stepping on anyone's feet. I've been able to pair up with everyone. So it doesn't matter what their dog business is, we're not competing, so we're able to partner up. So that's been really great. I recently did a few deals where, like, if you have a foster dog, which means like the dog just lives with you until it's adopted, I'll run it for free if you book for your other dogs. If you adopt a dog from any of these shelters, I'll come run them for free for your first time. Or if you leave me a review, I'll give you $5 off. None of these have really done anything yet, but I just released them like 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that these will kind of generate a little bit more business, or I don't know. A lot of the shelter dogs have already been running, and so the fact, like, if I can get to their house and run their brand new dog and they can see how much they love it and they just rescued this great dog and they just want to give it all the best things. So hopefully that'll help. I also did this subscription deal, which I thought would be a great success. Usually people will run their dog once a week. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to offer a deal where if they pay for 4 sessions up front, I'll give them $5 off every dog per session. So it's a pretty good discount. That's $20 to $60 off every time. So I was like, that's going to be easy. Nobody uses that. Like, even my clients that book every single week, they just pay my full price. I've offered this to them. They haven't taken it. So I don't know. I was really shocked with that. I've had 2 people buy my subscription deal. They booked twice and they never booked again. So they paid for 2 extra sessions that they never used. And I've reached out to them, been like, hey, you still have those sessions, like, feel free to use them. And they're like, oh yeah, we will. And they haven't. Like, they seriously bought them in July and they still have not finished them. So I thought it'd be a bigger success than it was. People always ask about it, but I don't know if they just don't want to pay up front for them. But it's weird because they're booking every single week. So like, I would think that they would want a deal. But I mentioned that I hired someone. I posted this ad and I found the perfect candidate. She was actually a former client, but her dog wouldn't do it. So she's kind of an ex-client. Like, her dog wouldn't do it, so she wasn't my client anymore. She reached out to me. She's like, I've been meaning to volunteer. I would love to get paid to volunteer. I guess it's not really volunteering if you're paid, but she's like, that'd be really cool. So I met with her. She ended up being the perfect candidate, and it ended up working great. So she is at the shelter actually right now with my van running shelter dogs, and I'm able to be here. And I pay her pretty good. I don't make a ton of money when she's there, but like I mentioned, I have a guy who sponsors me to run every single dog, and he's pushy. Like, if I am not there that week, he will call me. Hey, were you at the shelter? Like, you know those dogs need running, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I was really busy this week. I couldn't get there. And he's like, all right, just let you know, like, I'm here when you're ready. So he's very pushy, and I wanted to keep him satisfied so that he'd keep sponsoring. And also, like, I want to be at the shelter. I get busy. So I hired her to kind of satisfy him, make a little bit of money by really doing nothing. I mean, I'm here talking to you guys, and technically I am making money right now. So that was really cool. I also, like I said, there's not a ton of mobile dog gyms, but there's enough of us. We have a Facebook group, and that's been really helpful. So people have all sorts of setups. I obviously have a bus. Some people have trailers. This guy has a van. Some people are really fancy and have like Mercedes Sprinters. I don't know how they justify that. But anyways, we all kind of share. So like they ask if we have a brake system, or they say, post your stuff. And I don't know, it's been really cool to be able to talk to these guys. They share their pricing, what systems they've used, what's worked, what hasn't worked, different slogans, like all sorts of stuff. So it's been a really good group. It's helped me get through a lot of it. And I actually got recommended to join this group just through a random person from Canada that messaged me and was like, hey, I just saw that you're starting up. Or I hadn't even started at this point. I had just made an Instagram. I had never posted, made an Instagram. She messaged me, hey, you should join this Facebook group if you're wanting to start up. And she wanted to network with me. She wanted me to recommend books to her, and she'd recommend them to me. And like I was still at Snow, and I was like, I don't know about that. Like I'm still in college. But anyways, I'm glad I joined, and I've made a lot of friends that are just throughout the country that have a mobile dog gym. My most recent thing I've done is I've joined BNI, which is a business networking group. We meet every week. That's actually where I was right before I came here. We had a kickoff event, but you pay to be in this group, and I had a private sponsor be able to sponsor me to go to that too. And so I'm in this group, and we stand up every week and we say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I hold the plumbing seat. Today, I'm looking for someone who needs their toilet fixed. And then everyone in the group is supposed to write down someone that they know they could refer to that person. And then referrals get made, and they like track how much you make from your referrals. It's just a really cool networking group. I joined not necessarily for the referrals because not everyone has a dog. So it's not crazy good for me, but it is a business group. So I've never done anything business. I'm just winging it. Like I literally use Venmo, and I keep track of my bookkeeping on Google Sheets. Like I'm just winging it. And so I joined this group to kind of help me figure out how to be a business owner and learn from other people. So that's my most recent thing. This is just a dumb video that I thought I would show you guys, just to kind of show, I don't know, one of the hard things is their dogs start very slow, and like the first or second session, they don't run. And so I have to make videos and stuff to show people like, hey, hang in there. Like, just because your dog didn't run the first time doesn't mean they won't. So anyways, does anyone have any questions? It's so awkward that the video doesn't have any sound. Anyways, but I think that's it. Hopefully I went over everything I wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a question, nobody else does. I remember when you pitched this idea in the Grit Center, and there were some people, local people, kind of with the attitude of, this is such a dumb idea. Who would pay to walk their dogs on a trip? So I'm just curious kind of what you would, looking back at that, would you respond differently to that now that you have, a year of experience doing this? Or what have you learned about your customers and your market that you would use to like respond to that? This is such a dumb idea, like who wants this?
Yeah. So the one in St. George, the reason that her business kind of failed out there, it didn't fail. She was still doing okay, but it wasn't doing great. She thought, who would use this? College students who have dogs in their apartments that they can't get out, and old people who can't run 5 miles. So that's kind of what she thought. So she went down to St. George, or she was just living there. And it didn't work because the old people, that's like how they got out every day, was to walk their dog. So they weren't going to give up that time. And then the college students couldn't afford her because they're college students. So that's kind of why it failed for her. And so bringing it up here, I was thinking, okay, we have a lot of new condos and apartments. Those people probably want to get out. We have a lot of like elderly communities, so I thought I'd just kind of target them, obese dogs. It's been just like middle-aged women who have kids, but they love their dogs a lot. And it sometimes seems like they love their dogs more than their kids. It's like almost all women who reach out to me, and their husbands will come in and watch, and they love it. I also expected a lot of hunting dogs. There's a lot of hunting in Utah County. Those dogs usually just sit in the kennel until hunting season. I haven't really reached out a ton, usually, or I haven't gotten a lot from that. So I don't know, the market for it is not what I expected it to be. It's younger people and older people. It's just like a crazy mix, and it's been hard to like target audiences because I don't know who's gonna want it and who's not. It's been like completely random, and a lot of people have just found me. So I haven't had to do a ton of like outgoing marketing. They've kind of found me, or just from me driving around and stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. Anyone else? If you guys want to like follow my TikTok, you could. Utah_bark_and_go. But I'm trying to blow it up because some of my mobile dog gym friends go live with each other and their dogs will race. And they're in like different states. And then people give them gifts and then they like donate it to shelters and stuff. So it's kind of what I want to do. I think it'd be fun. So if you want to, there's my TikTok handle or my Instagrams, Utah_bark&go. I post fun videos sometimes. Dogs.
You should totally have it out.
Go ahead and follow me. If you have family that's in Utah County, let them know that I am going to start doing half off first trials. So, just kidding. Okay. Anyways, that's it.
So, Shyler, what advice would you give to this room full of students if they think about starting something?
Don't just wing it like I did. There's a lot of things that I wish I kind of had thought through a little bit more. So like you can wing it, but do some more research. Like for example, I just registered myself as an LLC. I was like, I gotta get a business license. But I should have looked into how that would look on my taxes. Probably should have done a sole proprietorship. But I don't know, I don't really want to go through the work of switching that now, especially now that I have an employee, I have to be an LLC, but just things like that. Like I should have known that there were other mobile dog gyms in Utah, and I didn't know that. I think I knew of one, and there were 3. So should have like kind of done a little bit more research for it. But
Would you choose the way you did it?
oh no, absolutely, go for it. Yeah, just when you go for it, be educated about it. Like talk to people. People are always willing to just give you free advice when you're small. Like I had people reaching out to me, just like offering me opportunities, like opportunity after opportunity, just because I was smaller, and they're like, oh, I can help you. And it makes people feel good. So just ask people. Like people are more than willing to tell you anything you want. Other business owners. I talked to my uncle who has a big, like really big business. I talked to him and he was like, yeah, here's what I think. He gave me some advice and I went off that. But yeah, I said, I was gonna be a cop. So this was not in my plans. If I hadn't have gone for it, I would probably be at Snow, and I'd probably, who knows? I don't even know where I'd be. So I'm really glad I did this. This has been really fun. I've met a lot of fun people, made a lot of really cool connections. So I would say you definitely should just go for it. Like I didn't think I had any original ideas. Like I feel like that's what people say is, oh, everything's already been done. I don't have any ideas. But like you just have to take opportunities when they come. I am lucky that she didn't sell the van before I jumped on it. And I actually wasn't going to do it, but my dad pushed me. He's like, doors open and they close. So you've got to jump on it. So if you find an opportunity, you just go for it. And if it's not too much, like if you fail, you fail. So what? Like you move on with life. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, anyways.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Shyler.